As a postpartum mom, you're probably feeling like there's too much to do and not enough time or energy to do it all. Raise your hand if that's how you feel, because that is how I feel literally all of the time. But what if I told you that it's not about making huge changes, like these really, really big changes in our life? It's really just about incorporating these tiny daily habits or behaviors that can help you heal, build strength, and stay consistent without feeling overwhelmed. Stick around because today I'm sharing the small but powerful habits that can transform your postpartum recovery. Let's get it. Feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, and like you've lost yourself in the postpartum chaos, struggling to rebuild your strength, heal your core, and feel confident in your body again? Hey, mama, I'm Val, a functional sports dietitian, postpartum fitness coach, and a mama who understands exactly what you're going through. Welcome to the Strong and Nourish Mama podcast, where I help busy moms like you regain your energy, rebuild strength, and feel amazing through simple, science-backed nutrition and fitness strategies. If you're ready to go from depleted to strong, nourished, and unstoppable, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. The Exhausted to Energized workshop is just in a couple of weeks, on Friday, August 1st. And if you are still wondering if this workshop or the 8-week program that I'm going to be talking about afterwards is really worth your time, let me prove it to you. These are some testimonies that are from my clients who have actually taken my program. After taking this program and practicing the exercises daily, I haven't had back pain, I haven't had hip pain. I can also tell a difference in my pelvic floor function. I am so happy I enrolled. That was Hannah. This is from Val. Some days it just felt good to show up and move my body without feeling the pressure that I wasn't doing enough. Erica said, this series helped me stay active, ease my anxiety, and prepare for labor, especially as a first-time mom. And then Liz said, even though it was my second pregnancy, I learned so much and finally felt in tune with my body. I felt strong and more relaxed. These are real moms who joined when they were pregnant, newly postpartum, or months or even years into their journey, and they found the clarity, strength, and energy they were looking for. Whether you're 3 weeks postpartum or 6+ years postpartum, or maybe you're currently pregnant and planning ahead, this is your invitation. Join me for the free Exhausted to Energize workshop on August 1st. You'll get the replay, the workbook, and exclusive early access to the Strong, Nourished, and Energized Mom method that is launching this August. Go to wellnessbyval.com/workshop to save your spot now. Today, we're diving into something that I know so many postpartum moms can relate to, feeling like there's too much to do and not enough time or energy to do it. If you've been feeling overwhelmed, you are definitely not alone. I feel it too. There are so many days where I ask myself, how am I supposed to do all of these things in one day? How do people do it? Work, clean, grocery shop, meal prep, walk the dogs, exercise. I remember thinking, how am I ever going to get back to feeling like myself again after having my baby? Between healing, caring for my baby, and adjusting to this new life, I felt like I couldn't even imagine fitting in workouts or healthy habits. But I quickly realized something. It wasn't about making huge changes. It was about focusing on tiny, tiny daily habits that I could easily incorporate into my life. Something that wasn't like super overwhelming. And in today's episode, I'm going to share some of the tiny daily habits that helped me and that can hopefully help you too when it comes to healing, building strength, and staying consistent during your postpartum recovery and beyond. These small actions may not seem like a lot, but trust me, when done consistently, they can lead to big, big lasting changes. When I first became a mom, I had this huge list of things I wanted to start doing. Exercising every day, eating healthier, focusing on my protein, getting my energy back, growing my private practice, starting the podcast, and of course, taking care of my baby and spending as much time as I could with her. But the truth is it felt like so much to tackle all at once. It was very, very overwhelming, and it often felt like there wasn't enough time or energy to do it all. And when that happens, you can go into that all or nothing thinking of like, screw it, I'm not going to do any of it. Or I try and do it all, and then I burn out. For example, I wanted to start walking every day. I knew walking was a great way to get moving again, but at first, the idea of long walks felt impossible, especially learning to juggle the new routine of everything, breastfeeding, and then going on a walk. So instead of setting myself up for failure, I decided to start small. So small that it sounded almost dumb. I began with just 5 minutes a day. That was it. 5 minutes. Put on the tennis shoes, put on a hat and some sunscreen, and go out for 5 minutes. And guess what? Over time, I slowly increased the duration each week until I was walking longer. And eventually I started increasing the intensity. So I was walking faster and I was pushing my baby in the stroller. I made it a habit to walk in the mornings after eating breakfast and feeding my baby. I would get outside, even if it was just around the block, like literally took 2 minutes, just to get my body moving, just to do something and to get out of the house, which I think is very important after having your baby. Then in the afternoons, I set a reminder to do my breathing and my core exercises while my baby napped, something I've talked about on the show before. It was just a few minutes here and there, but it added up. These tiny habits may have seemed small, like so small to where it's like, why not just walk for 10 or 20 minutes, Val? But they really helped me when it was time to get back into my exercise routine, when it was time to start moving again. By starting with what I could do and building up gradually, I felt more confident, I felt in control, and my strength and my energy finally returned. It wasn't like it was this overwhelming task and then I was burning myself out. And that's exactly what I want to talk about today, how these small habits can help you heal, build strength, and stay consistent postpartum. So let's talk about why tiny habits matter. The truth is, small actions lead to big results over time. We often get stuck thinking that recovery or fitness, nutrition, it requires these huge efforts like long workouts or drastic changes to our routines. Like, okay, throw everything out in the kitchen and let's buy everything new. Let's just start over. But in reality, tiny habits are often more sustainable and just as effective in the long run. It's all about consistency. So research shows that small habits are easier to build into your daily life without feeling overwhelmed. And we don't need to feel overwhelmed more than we already do as moms. Whether it's a quick 10-minute walk or a 5-minute core engagement exercise, these small steps can make a huge difference over time. And you don't have to do everything perfectly either. It's about doing what you can when you can. So maybe you don't get to do the whole 5 minutes of the core engagement exercise routine. You do 1 minute, and that's okay. This will really support you when things get tough. So for example, right now in my life, we're in a tough season when it comes to sleep. It's pretty inconsistent now that my toddler is in a big girl bed. Some nights, some weeks she's doing great. Others, we're waking up in the middle of the night. We're bringing her to our bed. We're trying to put her back in her bed. We're also traveling more during the summer, so routines are off. I normally go to the gym at 5 a.m. because I like to get my workout in before everyone wakes up. I feel good. It sets me for the day, especially because my days are super busy. But the last month has been difficult with the lack of sleep and the change in routines. Actually, I went to the gym this morning for the first time in a few weeks, and my goal is this week to stay consistent. And one of the guys that I see at the gym all the time, he's an older gentleman. He was like, "Where have you been? You've been slacking." He was joking around, and I'm like, "No, it's just sleep is inconsistent, and that is a priority for me." So I've changed my routine a little bit, but I'm glad to be back. So I was sleeping in the morning instead of going to the gym. But because I made movement a priority and a habit early on postpartum, I was able to get into other forms of movement and exercise later in the day. This looked like a quick walk with the dogs at lunch, or a 15-minute Peloton bike ride, or working out for 30 minutes in the garage with my toddler at the end of the day. It wasn't perfect. Sometimes it was in the living room. Sometimes it was very intermittent. I was stopping and cleaning or cooking dinner and doing other things, but I focused on what I was able to do with what was going on in my life at that moment, and that's going to happen all the time. It would have been so easy to say, screw it, I won't work out, I won't move today, and then a month would have gone by and I would be telling you a totally different story. I would have probably felt more anxious, impatient, weak, not like myself. I've told you guys before that movement is my medicine, it is my therapy, and I do it to be able to support all of the activities that I want to do in my life with my family and with my toddler. Let's start with discussing physical healing and core recovery. It's something that I really talk about a lot on the show because I think it's very important and something that's often neglected. As a postpartum mom, your core and your pelvic floor need the time to heal. They need the time to heal. And if you didn't focus on that within the first 3 months, 12 months postpartum, and you're now decades after having your kids, it doesn't mean that it's too late. You can still focus on these exercises to rebuild the core, the pelvic floor, and really make sure that you're not having any of these symptoms, but also help with the exercise that you're doing today and to reach your whatever goals that you're wanting to accomplish. So as a postpartum mom, some things that you can focus on is the gentle, small exercises that you can do that won't overload your body. So something that I've talked about on the show are going to be pelvic tilts. And in my program, I talk about different ways that you can do this. It's not just cat-cow where you're inhaling, I gaze up, exhaling, tuck, round, and curl. There are so many different ways to incorporate pelvic tilt. So you're moving the pelvis into a posterior pelvic tilt and anterior pelvic tilt. And this is really going to help with posture, especially when you're holding your baby. A lot of the times we like to stand in an anterior pelvic tilt, or some moms may stand in a posterior pelvic tilt. An anterior pelvic tilt is where your pelvis is facing forward. And so it's like your belly is popping out and the butt's popping out. And then a posterior pelvic tilt is where you are kind of hanging out on the spine and hips are thrusted forward. So if we can incorporate these pelvic tilts along with our breathing and stability breathing, this is going to be very helpful to help engage the core, and it's going to be easy to do in short bursts throughout the day. So while feeding your baby, during nap times, or even before bed, because it's not something that's super intense. These movements are also important because they help rebuild the strength that you lost. It helps reconnect that neuromuscular system, and it doesn't feel like a workout. So you're not like, oh my gosh, I have to do this big thing. And the best part, you can start doing them right away. So these are things that are going to support you no matter how many years postpartum you are, but especially in those first few weeks. These are things that you can do right away. The goal is to start small and build as your body recovers. So something that I did after having my baby girl was I would just sit and perform 10 diaphragmatic belly breaths. And then the next week I would add on to it. And I would do glute bridges, and I would take lots of rest between the reps. So I would do one glute bridge and then recover. And as I was doing that, I was really focusing on my breath, that stability breathing, the core engagement, and then going up into the glute bridge. So this is something that I'll talk about more in the workshop, but I'm definitely going to go into way more detail in the program. Now let's talk about nutrition and hydration. Tiny habits for nutrition and hydration, because these are the two things that can easily fall to the wayside when you are busy taking care of your little one. But let me tell you, these small habits in these areas, nutrition and hydration, can make a big difference in how you feel, and it's going to make a big difference in the long run. So something you can start with are easy snacks that are packed with protein and healthy fats. Things like yogurt with fruit, trail mix, maybe it's homemade energy balls. They're easy to grab and can give you that energy boost that you need when you're running really, really low on sleep and low on energy. And then when it comes to hydration, especially if you're breastfeeding, something that you can do to keep it simple is keep a water bottle everywhere in the room. I've mentioned this before. I had a water bottle in my bedroom, my baby's room, the living room, the kitchen, the office, and I do not have a big house, but it was so easy because everywhere I went, I would see a water bottle that would cue me to drink some water, and it was easier to stay hydrated. A simple habit like always having your water bottle in arm's reach is really going to be helpful to remind you to stay hydrated and give your body what it needs to keep going. What about tiny habits for mental health and self-compassion? Because postpartum recovery isn't just about the physical health, it's about mental strength too. And as a mom, it's so easy to become overwhelmed, anxious, low mood, and it's just too much. So if we can focus on tiny habits to support our mental health and well-being and really incorporating some self-compassion, that's going to be very supportive for our health. One of the most important things you can do for your health is to practice this. We can be our own critics, right? Tough critics. But research shows, as I mentioned in the previous episode, that self-compassion leads to lower perceived stress, better physical health, and less anxiety and depression. So instead of focusing on what you can't do, like I can't go for a 30-minute walk, I can't meal prep a whole week's worth of meals, we want to start with something small and we want to celebrate the small wins. So instead of the 30-minute walk, do a 5-minute walk. Maybe you start with a 1-minute walk. That's it. Walk out to the sidewalk and back in. Boom, check it off, you did it, and then celebrate it. Celebrate the success, because that positive emotion is what's going to make it easier for you to be able to continue that behavior. Maybe it's a 10-minute walk. Maybe it's making it through a hard day or feeding and changing the diapers and acknowledging your efforts like, I did it. Yes, awesome. Because again, if we bring in that negative emotion, that is going to make it even harder for us to continue the behaviors that are going to support our health and our well-being, the behaviors and the habits that we want to start incorporating and build on. It's these small moments of kindness to yourself that will help you stay consistent and reduce burnout. Lastly, I want to talk about consistency. So one of the biggest obstacles postpartum that moms face is staying consistent. It's easy to start something and then lose motivation. This is really with anyone at any time, but especially as moms, because the seasons change, especially in early childhood, infanthood, childhood, toddler life, all of it, the seasons are changing very quickly. So it can be very easy to lose motivation because the routines are changing very quickly. But the key is to make things easy to do and track your progress. So maybe you create a simple routine, like a 5-minute stretch when you wake up or a walk after dinner. Set yourself up for success by preparing your space too, because this will remind you and it'll make it that much easier for you to accomplish that behavior. So whether it's having your workout clothes ready or setting out healthy snacks ahead of time, this is going to help you in the long run. And when you track your progress, that's going to see over time what the trend is. Like in that moment, you're probably like, man, this is doing nothing. This 5-minute walk is doing nothing. But then when you look back 6 months from now, you're like, oh, actually, you know what? I started with 5 minutes and now I'm at 10 minutes and I'm doing it every day. And I used to not do that. How awesome is that? So keeping a journal, maybe you use an app or some type of habit tracker. This can be super helpful and remind you how far you have come, even when it feels like the days are blending together. So these tiny daily habits can make a huge difference in your postpartum recovery. And it's about starting small, staying consistent, and showing up for yourself and giving yourself the compassion along the way. These are the things that are going to support all of the behaviors that you're wanting to integrate, the goals that you're wanting to reach. And remember, we want to start small. So the goal is tiny, tiny habits. If you want to write down all of the things that you want to accomplish or start doing after you have your baby, maybe you choose one area and then you pick tiny habits within that area. So for you, maybe it's starting with exercise. So then what you can do is for the first week after having your baby, you can start with 5 belly breaths, 5 diaphragmatic breaths. Then each week you build on top of that. So the next week you're doing the 5 belly breaths, or maybe you're increasing the reps. Maybe you do 10. And then after that, you can start to incorporate some cat-cows. Then in the coming weeks, you add in some glute bridges, maybe you add in some dead bugs, and then eventually you're doing squats and the 90-90 flow and all of the exercises that I'm going to be teaching you in the program. So these tiny habits are going to build and they're going to be your best friend. So don't let yourself or anyone else tell you that the little things that you're doing are not helpful, because they are definitely going to be helpful. If you're ready to take these habits to the next level and create a sustainable routine that leaves you feeling energized and strong, I would love for you to join me in my free live workshop, From Exhausted to Energized, on August 1st. We're going to be diving deeper into how to fuel your body, heal your core the right way, and create lasting habits to overcome exhaustion. Sign up today at wellnessbyval.com/workshop to grab your spot before it fills up. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Stay strong, stay nourished. Hey mama, I hope you loved today's episode. If it resonated with you, would you please take 30 seconds to share it with another mom, a mom who's looking to make healthy eating and exercise easier, because we need that. And if you haven't yet, I would be so grateful if you could leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts. It truly means the world to me and helps the show reach more amazing moms like you. All right, time to chase my toddler around. Stay strong and nourished, and I will be back on Monday with another episode. Talk soon.